So I lead a group of people who do a lot of reporting around sustainability and a lot of plans and implementation. Okay, so just a little bit about UBC for those of you who don't know. It's an institution, this is kind of one of the top 5 research-intensive universities in the country. It has 45,000 students at the Vancouver campus, about another 10,000 at several other campuses, 12,000 faculty and staff, seasonal complement. We're also going through a major transformation of this campus to turn it into a more sustainable campus from an operations perspective, and John will tell you about some interesting stuff later on in his talk that is taking that to the next level of performance, I think. But it is a transformative process that we're going through right now physically and have been going through for at least 10 years. And it is and it is driven by sustainability. I thought we'd show you this. This is the vision of the university from our strategic plan that was just recently adopted. It has the promotion of civil and sustainable values as a key element in the vision statement. And that vision statement was just revisited through a pretty consultative process across the university. And some tinkering, but largely it stayed very much the same as the one that we've had for the last 10 or 15 years. And John can tell you about the challenges of getting sustainability as a value into the vision statement 10 years ago. But I'll tell you, it's so firmly embedded in this university now that it becomes a core driving principle, and we think of it now as a differentiating element for the university. We've had a sustainable development policy of the Board of Governors, which is our governing body, since 1997, and it has been very helpful in setting up, I guess, the framework for how we tackle sustainable development issues at the university. And it certainly talks about triple bottom line and stakeholder engagement, and those have all been important pieces as we move forward. I want to talk about two instruments of planning policy that we have used and had quite a bit of experience with in terms of both implementing and then reporting on with metrics, and just to show you, I guess, how effective they can be, and then I'll talk a little bit more about some of the challenges we're facing as we move along here. So the first one is Inspirations and Aspirations. This is the kind of fancy title for our operational sustainability policy plan at the university. It has, as you can see, a number of goals, and it has a lot of metrics. And this is one of the challenges. It has over 68 metrics, and I'll be frank with you, we don't really actively manage all of those areas. We manage a few, and this is certainly one of the lessons I would want to pass on to all of you. You've got to be really lean when you're designing metric systems. Nonetheless, it's had some significant impacts, and I'll talk about a couple of highlights later on. The official community plan for our campus, and we have a custom OCP for our campus, has also been in place for a long time and has a number of metrics, maybe only 20 associated with this. And this one deals with land use, transportation, affordable housing, community development elements. So the other one dealt more with the operations of the university, and this one deals with our bigger, if you like, the bones and of the skeleton of the campus. So here's a couple of, I just picked a few indicators, a few goal areas to report on to you and talk a little bit about how these have influenced our actions. And so the first one, reducing pollution, I picked out a metric here that is auto traffic, actually, because what we have set as a metric here, and there's a number of metrics, I'm just picking one, but reducing auto traffic to 1997 per capita levels. There's also an absolute target of 20% reduction off 1997. But we did this, we've been monitoring on a per capita level as well. And you can see the reductions are quite substantial. But how we achieved this was an investment in UPass, both by our students and by the university, an investment in parking. We went to structured parking. We took out a bunch of surface parking lots, and we raised our parking rates substantially. They're now close to downtown parking rates, and if you know the UBC campus, it's a long way from downtown. And we built more housing on campus. So those are kind of three big, kind of disconnected. If you were looking at this indicator, you might not understand that those are the kind of areas that you have to operate in to be effective in actually driving this indicator down. The second one, conserving resources, reducing the non-renewable energy consumption in institutional buildings by 30% from 2000 levels. You might think that that would just be a standard retrofit program, and in fact we did do one of the largest energy and water retrofit programs in North America, the EcoTrek. It was about a $40 million retrofit program that covered our core academic institutional buildings. But it also drove us to a partnership with the provincial government called UBC Renew, which has invested about $200 million in renewing our old academic infrastructure. The kinds of retrofit initiatives that just don't get a payback, and those have really helped us drive this target forward. So that's like $250 million worth of investment on the second one, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment on the first one. And then if you look at the last indicator here, 20% of new residential dwellings need to be rental housing. So in our family housing that we're building on our campus at Vancouver, we're committed that 20% at a minimum will be available for rental housing. So that's an affordable housing commitment. It also helps with our academic recruitment and retention. It's actually quite important there. And what it drove us to do in that area actually is set up our own wholly owned rental management, construction and management company. And we've built probably 500 rental units over the past 10 years, and that makes us probably one of the largest rental housing builders in BC right now. So just those three indicators have had very deep and very significant impacts, but it's not really the indicators, in my view, that are driving the decision making. Each of these indicators is based in a really holistic systems understanding of what you need to do to build more sustainable communities and run a more sustainable set of university operations. And we had a pretty good understanding of what it was going to take before it went in, which is also important in terms of keeping your organization on side with you as you move forward. I know there's going to be a little bit about communications and how you communicate around indicators, so I just thought I'd put this up. It's our consumption counter. It's on our website, the Sustainability Office website, and it actually flicks along in real time. And we find students and lots of people actually really like this kind of a way of displaying information. And so I just thought I'd put it up there, and you can go to our sustainability website and take a look at that if you like. And that's rooted back to the Inspirations and Aspirations plan that I highlighted earlier. So I said spaghetti, and here's a little look, not a comprehensive look, but a little look at kind of what we're facing now. So we started with a couple of plans that were really driving a lot of investment in sustainability and transformation of how we do business at the university in terms of some core key operating principles and and actually land use, which is a big deal, as we all know. And now we have a mushrooming of plans, both internal and external, that have a huge number of metrics associated with them. And we're struggling with how to actually resource this and how to use the information that it produces and who uses the information that it produces. Some of them are internal, the ones on the top, and some of them are external, some are regulatory. So the province of BC, which has taken great strides in climate change action, has developed some fairly rigorous regulatory reporting requirements that have lots and lots of indicators. The Association of Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, which is a North American institution, has recognized the problem for academic institutions and is trying to develop some kind of a standardized approach, and we're participating in that. But I'll show you a little bit later on. Everybody's measuring something slightly different. And then we have the Sustainable Endowments Institute, which is an important third-party validator for academic institutions in terms of sustainability, and they issue a green report card as well. I'll talk a little bit about those three and what they do. But before I do that, I thought I'd show you just what it takes to do some of these in terms of the number of indicators and the number of departments that we have to work with to collect that data. So the Sustainability Annual Report has 68 metrics, and we work with about 30 departments across campus to collect that data. The campus plan, I said, has 20. That's about 4 departments that are really actively involved in developing the information. When you look at the SMART tool, it's got about 85, I think, indicators as well. The Carbon Neutral Action Report, those are both for the provincial government under the climate change stuff. We've got 98 indicators there we have to report on annually. The STARS program of Aishi is 140, almost 140, and the Green Report has 87. So it's becoming really challenging for us to resource this. I can't do it anymore. Here's the schedule through the year of when these different indicator systems come up, so they're not even all at the same time. So we're really pissing people off by going back to them for slightly different data at different times of the year, all during the same reporting period. So you can imagine that they don't actually, they put us down on the to-do pile a little low when we come knocking now, and that's not really very productive. It's certainly not, it hurts my effectiveness as a senior leader in the university as well, which you have to think about. So let's just, looking a little deeper at some of these other ones that are coming forward that we're trying to work with. This one is doing a little bit more in education and research, which is a good thing from a university's perspective. And John will be, leading the charge on driving this in our at the university in the future. Category 2 has a lot of kind of typical operational things, but they're measuring them slightly differently than what we've been measuring them for our internal operations. And then, interestingly, they're adding things like community relations and partnerships and trademark licensing, which we've never measured before from a sustainability perspective, to their list, which is growing the sets of responsibilities. The Sustainable Endowment Institute Green Report Card has some of those things, and then has a big focus on investment, shareholder engagement, for example. So how do we handle proxy voting and stuff like that? Which I can see the connections, but it just is driving me into conversations with Treasury that they've never had before, and they're wondering why I'm getting out of this kind of area. It's not necessarily bad, but it's also repeated in the last one. There was some financial stuff there, so they're going, well, get it straight, figure it out. And then here's just one screenshot from the province's SMART tool, which is all about vehicles. And you can see the level of detail, how many of current drivers have been trained in vehicle fleet drivers to reduce fuel use. I mean, incredible level of detail and resources required to report on this stuff. So for me, very limited resources to actually do things as well as monitor and report out on things. So right now, 2 of the systems is taking 2 months of staff time of my own group and countless hours by other 100 staff across the campus to collect some data. And if I multiply that by all the other systems that are coming into place, it's a big concern. How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it cost effectively? How can we do it and bring people along with us? So for me, the metrics need to be based on very good systems understanding, and they have to be lean. Pick a few. We can't support these big baskets that are more about learning from an operational, from an administrative standpoint. We can do the ones that make a lot of sense. And I think also organizations can really only focus on a few big game changers at one point in time, at any 5-year period and even 10-year period. The kind of changes we're talking about making and how organizations and communities do things are decades in time. And so if we constantly adjusting the metrics and moving them around and changing them and adjusting them, we lose the commitment of the organizations and we don't keep them with us. And then there's accountability concerns. We put our brand on a lot of this stuff. We put our community, our standing with our community, both our provincial and federal partners, but also our community partners around some of these reporting out. And so we need to be careful about which ones we sign on for. And then implementation. So just some things that we're trying to figure out right now and struggle with is how do we bring it to one time period? How do we align these things so we're reporting the same information to multiple partners? And how do we do that so that our organization stays with us and sees the value of doing this kind of work? My staff made me put the last one on an electronic management system for the data. I don't know if I can actually even afford to do that. So I'd like to try to do it, but this is like real-time data input and everybody in different departments being able to slot data in, and instead of us doing the phone calls and collecting the data more manual basis. But at any rate, those are some of the comments that I have from a UBC perspective about our experience to date with working with sustainability indicators. It has been very, where we've picked a few key indicators and really focused on them, and where they're based in that systems perspective, it's been very effective because the systems perspective, everybody understands that going in, and they're committed to driving forward to achieve the goals that we've set, and we keep the measurements going.